Good morning. I'm so grateful that you all have joined us today, and those of you that are online, for this is the day we're going to celebrate the magnificent life of our beloved Carol Evans. So we'll begin now. On July 22nd, 1939, God created out of its own essence a magnificent expression, Carol Evans. We are gathered here today to celebrate the memory of Carol. For a time, she walked among us and taught us of beauty and life and love. Now we come together in this sacred place to acknowledge her contribution to each of our lives and to find in our hearts peace with her passing. Friends, it is the practice of our particular church to grant a very special place to silent meditation. For in that essence of the silence, we come together and we realize the very real presence of God's love. The Spirit of God that is within each one of us will speak, not perhaps in words, but in an inner realization. So now let us quietly realize this together as we turn within and we bless this service and celebrate the magnificent life of Carol. Let us just turn within in the silence. Father, Mother, God, Infinite Spirit, how good it is to have this opportunity to celebrate such a beautiful life of one of God's own beloved, Carol Evans. For even now, she knows much more of life eternal than we can even begin to imagine. And yet her life, being the life of God, is on that unfolding journey, that eternal journey. No beginning, no ending, just an essence of coming into more and more and more of her true nature, her true self, the love of God that is uniquely individualized as her very being. We are so grateful for all the ways she has touched us and blessed us and made us laugh and rejoice in just being alive. So we bless Carol through the celebration of her life. We bless her family, her beloved Robin, and all friends, and we lift all of us up into that remembrance that life is a joyous journey of unfoldment, that not even death can separate us from the love and the joy and the creativity of pure spirit. So this is the consciousness that we anchor for this wondrous celebration of life. Filled full of gratitude and thanksgiving, I release this word. I let it be so now. And together we affirm it by saying, and so it is. Amen, amen, amen. So today, we and the friends and loved ones of Carol join together from all of our various backgrounds and beliefs to express our appreciation for Carol's presence in our lives and to affirm that her spirit is in eternal life. Spirit, which is the very breath of God, is not limited to this fragile experience, but finds expression far beyond that which we call life. So we now, instead of having a selected scripture, we're going to have a beautiful music video which speaks of the essence of the 23rd Psalm.
I follow you follow you, oh light within, I follow you. You are me, I am you. One life, one love, I follow you. I am the seed, I call to thee. Restoreth my soul, Lord, comfort me. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I do not fear. I find silence, and you are here. I follow you, I follow you, I follow you, I follow. Oh, light within, I follow you. You are me, you are me. I am you, I am you. One life, one love, I follow you. And in your arms, I cradle the wounded. His kindness is your way. Goodness and mercy, goodness and mercy, follow us all our days. Though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we do not fear. We find love, and you are here. We find love, and you are here.
Long-time member of our center here, and what a character. Anyone who was here for the first time would be drawn to her because she was a little ball of energy, and her voice was so unique too, wasn't it? And boy, you knew when Carol was present. Some of her friends here they had a special corner in our fellowship hour, and she would hold court along with Trish and Judy and Sarah and some others. That was their corner, and boy, you better not get on their table, I'll tell you. You know, it was like that. She was just, for such a little ball of life, she was a real big presence, wasn't she? She loved the teaching. She was a part of some of the classes I've taught. I've been only here for 4 years, so I've only known her for 4 years. But she was in most of the classes, and I just finished one, and I thought, oh, this would have been a class that she would have just really liked. Some of you had taken classes with her that are here. So she loved the teachings. She loved the teachings. She kind of lived the teachings, I think. She was very positive. And so our assistant minister, Reverend Robert Wilson, now is going to read this lovely prose by Ernest Holmes on immortality. Robert?
On immortality. When we came into this life, we were met by loving friends who cared for us until we were able to care for ourselves. Judging the future by the past and going from the known to the unknown, we can believe that when we enter the larger life, there will be loving hands to greet us and loving friends to care for us until we become accustomed to our new surroundings. Nature looks after everything and provides for herself at every turn of the road. We may confidentially expect to meet friends on the other side and to know and be known when we shall meet. Death loses its sting, the grave its victory, when we realize the eternity of our own being. Nature will not let us stay in any one place too long. She allows us to just stay long enough to gather the experience necessary to the unfolding and attachment of and advancement of the soul. Let us learn to view eternity as a continuity of time, forever and ever expanding, until time, as we now experience it, shall be no more. Realizing this, we shall see in everyone a budding spirit, a becoming God, an unfolding soul, an eternal destiny. We are born of eternal day, and the spiritual sun shall never set upon the glory of our being, for it is in the coming forth of God into self-expression. Every woman is an incarnation of eternity, a manifestation of the infinite. No woman need prepare to meet her God. She is meeting him every day and each hour in every day. She meets him in the rising sun, in the flowing stream, in the budding rose, in the joy of friendship and love, and in the silence of her own soul.
So many of you are sharing her love of craft and creativity and beauty and color in your own way. And I know she was highly creative. So I know she would love this selection from The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And Gibran says on death, "You would know the secret of death, but how shall you find it unless you seek it in the heart of life? The owl whose night-bound eyes are blind unto the day cannot unveil the mystery of light. If you would indeed behold the spirit of death, open your heart wide unto the body of life. For life and death are one, even as the river and the sea are one. In the depth of your own hopes and desires lies your silent knowledge of the beyond. And like seeds dreaming beneath the snow, your heart dreams of spring. Trust the dreams, for in them are hidden the gates to eternity. For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered? Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. And when you have reached the mountaintop, then you shall begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then you shall truly dance." And now Reverend Robert will give us the eulogy.
What can I say about Carol Evans safely? Well, first of all, some biographical information that was provided. Carol was born in Detroit, Michigan, July 22nd, 1939, which put her a few years older than I. And what was important in that is that Carol and I would sit sometimes together and just argue about things, or I should say discuss about things that happened to us, because we had some parallel experiences in life, and you'll see how that works out. She was the only child of Elmer and Ruth Eberly. Carol was an accomplished figure skater in her youth and active in her high school drama program. And as many of you know, she was very dramatic at times. She graduated from Royal Oak High School in 1957. She graduated from Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan in 1961 with a bachelor's degree in economics. After graduation, she moved to Oakland, California, where she attended California State University at Berkeley. She received her teaching credential from the University of Berkeley in 1963 and worked as an elementary school teacher in the Oakland Unified School District from 1964 to 1967. As I said, Carol's life and mine was very parallel. I too was an educator, I too taught school. So in our discussions, we had lots of disagreement on how to teach students how, and always came up where we're not only dealing with the content of the lesson, but more important, teaching values. And sometimes we would get screwed up on those values and figure out, well, what value are we trying to teach? So we would discuss what value was the more important one for that particular lesson. After giving birth to her only child, Robin, in 1968, Carol went on to receive her master's degree in educational psychology from the California State University at Hayward in 1972. Carol spent the rest of her career as a school psychologist in the Fremont Unified School District. In her retirement, she continued her love of teaching, working with children at the Cillian Learning Center in the Desert Cities. Carol was a longtime resident within the Desert Princess Homeowners Association and Country Club. She was also a longtime active member of the Desert Princess Crafters charity organization. If you knew Carol, she was always trying to be helpful, and sometimes she would go overboard. And if you've had those experiences, you know what I'm talking about. Carol would sometimes deviate from instructions. Boy, as her teacher, that was something that I learned very quickly, is if you gave an instruction to Carol, her first thing was, wait a minute, what's going on here? I have to take a look at this and see what's happening. She would never accept it as is. And later on, I found that this was that critical thinking skill that she had and that she had developed in her lifestyle. At one of the annual Crafters charity bazaars, during which we were giving out one free drink coupon for a donation of 3 cans of canned food for our chosen charity, several of Carol's neighbors came in without food, but Carol was giving them free drink coupons because they were her neighbors. That was Carol. Carol was always like that. I remember several times in class, she would come in with that Starbucks coffee. Now, this was at 6:30 at night, and I had already had my 2 cups of coffee earlier in the morning. And here she was drinking this coffee, and I'm going, oh my God, this is going to be a class. Because once she took that coffee, the energy came right back, and she was on. Carol always thought of others. She was always the first to be of selfless service, and we all know that here as the work that she did here with us. Carol's morning habit was to retrieve her daily newspaper from the driveway, get in her car, and drive to the nearby Starbucks for her favorite coffee. One day, however, as she told on herself, the drive-thru was closed. This didn't stop Carol, even though she was always in her pajamas and robe. She walked into Starbucks, got her coffee, and returned home as usual. Knowing Carol, I'm sure that you did not faze her in one bit. She was not intimidated. You can never say that this woman was ever intimidated. That was Carol, and that was really great. She simply had to have her morning Starbucks, and she continued out that throughout the day. Carol was a ferocious leader and a lifelong learner, attending and auditing classes at College of the Desert in retirement. She loved the arts, traveled, and was a dedicated animal lover. Carol cared deeply about human rights and was socially and politically active her whole life. And if you know her that well, you know that she was first to speak up about any injustices going on in this world. Carol's been part of our family here at Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Springs, for many years. She was an active member of the community, sharing in classes, volunteering as a greeter, and supporting all our events, as well as participating in our pledge programs. Carol gave selflessly of her talents, her treasures, and her time. She served as a greeter in the Ushers volunteer team. She loved our events, such as the Halloween party. She loved to get dressed up. That was the dramatic part of her. The mystery dinner, the Thanksgiving feast, and our Passover celebration, in which, and I'll never forget this, which I managed to spill wine all over her. I will always remember Carol most of all for her witty and her argumentative discussions in class. She never accepted it for face value. And that was so important to her. She was cognizant of how our minds worked and challenged and with ideas, and did not support her understanding of, and it supported her understanding of this mind-body connection. She had that already within her. Carol could go on for hours if I let her, discussing the many theories around the spiritual practice or principle that we were evaluating, and that was always kind of fun, but I always put Carol next to me in class because I could always grab her hand. Science of mind is just that, using critical thinking to make our lives better. Carol was definitely a critical thinker, and that's why this philosophy, science of mind, appealed to her so much and did lead her on so many successful places in her life. I'll miss Carol calling me during the pandemic on Sunday mornings, asking me, how do I get on the CSL PS Facebook again? I will miss her interrupting and challenging me in class, and she did that constantly. And as a teacher, sometimes that would, at first, that sort of got on my nerves. Oh God, do I have to put up with this again? But what happened was, over the time that I spent with Carol in class, I noticed that she was going on and asking questions in order to get a deeper understanding. And that wasn't just for her, that served the whole class. So I can definitely say that because of my experiences with Carol in classes and in my own personal experiences, that I too grew. Although Carol left this earth on June 12th, her energy still exists in this center and the people with whom she came into contact. I can feel Carol. I can hear her. We are in a better place in our lives because of Carol Evans. Thank you.
flowers on God's tree. On quiet afternoons, by soft light of the moon, the kindest blows, the gracious sky above, see and be love.
So I'm sure all of you have fond memories. And so this is an opportunity to share a funny story or a touching way that Carol touched your lives. And you're welcome to come up here and share on the mic so everyone can hear you on live stream. And just remember to speak into the mic. And we would love to hear your memory. And doesn't have to be long. Just the first thing that comes to mind when you remember the way Carol touched your life. So I invite you to share right now. Yeah. Come on, you can be the first one, Trish, you know. You want me to help you? Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Judith.
Hi, everybody. You know, I moved here 6 years ago. It was a big shock. I had lived at the beach for almost all my life. And I was a little apprehensive about what I might find. Would I make any friends? Would the church be okay for me? Would I be a good fit? And everybody was so unbelievably generous and thoughtful. And I felt welcomed the minute I came in. Carol, I was living at the Desert Princess at the time, and which Carol also did. And we would talk probably about once or twice a week. And, you know, she would always say to me, I don't drive, but she would say, now, do you want to go someplace? Do you need me to take you someplace? Do you need anything? And there were times when I really relied on her because I would need something very simple like, could you pick up a prescription for me at CVS? And she was always willing to do it. And I just can't tell you how much I enjoyed. We would go out to lunch after church, and we lunched. I mean, we got there, I don't know, maybe about 11:30, 12 o'clock. I don't ever remember us leaving before 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We had such a good time. We all had something to say, and we all got a chance to say it. And she was just such a marvelous conversationalist. She was a joy to me in my life. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Trish, and Carol and I have known each other for over 10 years. We actually met when we were attending another church in town, and it says Worldwide Ministries. And we took several classes together there, and she was very, very much into taking the classes. She wanted to know everything about everything. I loved that about her. And she actually took all the classes that that church offered, and actually was a reverend. She got ordained as a reverend in that church. So then a few years later, there were several of us that felt the need to move, and we came to this church, and we loved it. And again, we used to go to brunch after church. There was a big group of us. Now many of those folks have moved away and moved on, and so then there was our little group. And we went to lunch we changed from Billy Reed's, and we went to the Desert Princess. And as Judy pointed out, we had a great time at our brunches because each one of us had an opportunity to talk about whatever was going on in the world and our opinions about it. And many times we had difference of opinion on but it was great because we could express that, and it never felt like we were being judged one way or the other. It was just very open, and we enjoyed that so much. And she was a great friend. I really enjoyed her. We had another mutual friend, Dr. Michael McDonald, and he was a philosophy professor, also a member of our church, and he used to give classes at Osher, which for adult learning classes, and Carol would sign up and take it, and he always was actually, as Robert pointed out, she always had her opinions and opened up and everything, and we used to laugh about it. Sadly, Michael passed away in February, and so we just enjoyed being together, and I'm going to miss her. And thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Winona. I met Carol shortly after I moved to Palm Springs. Pardon? Oh, okay, I don't want it to go home on me. But she was always very active in women's rights. I met her through the Palm Springs chapter of NOW, and I've heard about all of you, every single one of you, especially Ian. I'm going to miss those updates. And I loved, like Trish said, the conversation. You talked to her about anything. She was very smart. And I'm not so sure she was much the teacher as she was the everlasting pupil. She always wanted to learn. She always was taking a class. She was always just taking in all that knowledge that she could. And in these last few years, the four of us that got together, I don't know if you saw the pictures up there, but Lori, Carol, myself, and Esther. Well, Esther has dementia, and Carol used to take her to the movies every Saturday to get her out of the house. Esther didn't have any idea what was going on, but she had a good time. And I really appreciated Carol for that. And her kindness is not something everybody knew of. She was very generous, and she was very just heartfelt. Everything come from her heart, but she wasn't flamboyant about it. She wasn't, going out boistering about it. So, but I'm going to miss her. I'm going to miss our conversations. I'm going to miss the updates on the family, and really going to miss her. So thank you for doing this today, and thank you for being here.
Anyone else? Yeah, thank you.
Hello, everybody. Well, I and my wife, we met Mrs. Carol Evans 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I will say thank to her, because we worked with her that long time. Yeah, I will say thank you again to her because she recommended and she talked to friends, and that way we keep more job, you know. um, you know, we miss her because she was lovely woman, and many years, was not easy. Yeah, but thank you for do this, because it's a good service and good memories to her. Well, thank you again.
Thank you. Oh.
Hi, my name is Adriana. I'm over there crying in the corner because I knew Carol for very briefly when I started coming here. I took one of Reverend Robert's classes. That was the first class that I ever took. And Carol gave such an impression to me, inspiration. And I'm just so happy that I got to meet her. Because I think that there's people that are meant to cross our path for a certain reason, just to align you to where you're meant to be. And I think that's who Carol was. So I think that, yeah, she was a very lonely woman, but she knew her place, and she was always happy, and she always had a smiling face for everyone and something wise to say that would just like, and when I would bring my daughters here, she would talk to them, and she would just make them feel like someone special, not just a little person, but like a person. And so she just had I just have so many good things to say about her, and just what an inspiration she was of a woman, and that she never stopped learning, and she always wanted to know more. And I just want to be like her, I just see myself, and knowing her, it's just an inspiration. And I just wanted to share that with you, and how cool it was that you got such an awesome grandma, so, and she's still here. Even though her body's not here, I still feel her. I can hear her, seriously, and she always got what she wanted, and I'm here because I know Carol would have wanted it that way, so I'm here to serve. So thank you so much for allowing me to do this. Yeah.
Anyone else would like to share? All right. And for those online, if you want to share, use the chat feature on Facebook, and you can share amongst yourselves. And you can always tune in to the Facebook feed by going back to that, and all of us here present could read some of the comments on the chat feature. I came across this quote, and it reminds me so much of Carol. It's by a rabbi. Rabbi Byron Sherwin said, "Each of us is an artist commissioned to create one great work of art during our lifetime. And that work of art is our own life. And listening to everyone, I think the elements that Carol would use to create her masterpiece were generosity. You really heard everyone's sharing about her generous nature, and that she could just respond with love and provide whatever's needed at the moment. It could be an encouraging word or a smile or just a place to listen or a stimulating comment during classes. I was honored to teach several classes that she attended, and she never was quiet. She always was a part of every discussion, and her comments, like you've heard, were very stimulating and made us all think and pay attention. That's the gift of a lifelong learner, and she modeled that. Another one of the elements she used to create her masterpiece was her intelligence. You've heard that shared in so many different ways. She had a brilliant mind, and she did not believe that you were too old to learn, did she? For she took, the last class she was in of mine was just last winter, the 28-day faith lift, and she left an impression on everyone. One of our members is, two of our members from Seattle, Terry, and Colorado Springs, Ron Simpson. Well, Terry was here when Carol was here, and then Terry moved to Seattle, but Ron had never met her in the flesh. But when I told him that she had passed, he couldn't believe it because she was in his class, and he met her online. She was in his small group, I believe. And so, she used her wisdom and her cutting-edge intelligence to be an inspiration, to be a stimulating responder, so to speak, in class. And then, of course, the element of love. Love that expresses as the creative impulse. She loved anything craft. She loved colors and to create, and she was always, at least in the last year that I knew her, if not before, she used to be talking about her latest project. And here is an 80-some-year-old woman, 82-year-old woman who knew how to still enjoy her creative side and her intelligence and her generosity. I don't know about you, but that is the living legacy, the masterpiece that I'm going to remember and to aspire to use the same elements to create my own masterpiece. So she left that beautiful legacy of creativity and generosity and keen intelligence and wit and the whole idea of, just diving into life with both feet, really getting I think Carol squeezed out every little juicy essence of life itself. And so isn't that the legacy that she's leaving us? And even like Ian will remember those elements in creating his masterpiece as he lives his life. And so we come to this moment with praise and with gratitude and, gosh, just inspired, awesome wonder. For she's modeled a life, a masterpiece. And she has, each one of us could say she's inspired us to maybe live more fully, be more generous, be more creative, take a risk. And she didn't really care what people thought, did she? Ultimately. She just went for it, and that's what we are called to do. So she has left us with a beautiful legacy, and we're forever grateful. So I want to kind of close our time together with one final poem because sometimes poets and artists can paint images that have deep meaning rather than us using our cognitive ability to try to communicate the same thing. Here's a beautiful poem by Henry Van Dyke about immortality, a parable of immortality. I'm standing upon the seashore. A ship at my side spreads her white sails to the morning breeze and starts for the blue ocean. She is an object of beauty and strength, and I stand and watch until, at last, she hangs like a speck of white cloud just where the sea and the sky come down to mingle with each other. Then someone says, "There she goes." Go? Gone where? Gone from my sight, that is all. She is just as large in mast and hull and spar as she was when she left my side, and just as able to bear her load of living freight to the place of destination. Her diminished size is in me, not in her. And just at the moment when someone at my side says, "There she goes," there are other eyes watching her coming and other voices ready to take up the glad cheer. Here she comes. And so we've come to say our last earthly goodbye to one who was so close to us that we feel some part of us has gone with her, and some part of her is retained in our memory. And we know that there is not gulf between, for we all live and love in the eternal spirit from which no one is ever separated. So I invite each one of us now to pause again and turn within into the silence of your old heart and say goodbye in your own way to someone who we all love. Father, Mother, God, Infinite Spirit, how good it is to celebrate a life well lived, the life of a master artist who has created her masterpiece in such a way that we are eternally inspired. And so with praise and thanksgiving and gratitude, we wish Carol Godspeed on your eternal journey. Fly well, sweet Carol, and we will meet again. And for this great truth and for the great gift of her life, we simply give thanks. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. Thank you, Infinite Spirit. Releasing this word with praise and thanksgiving, we let it be, and together we affirm it by saying, "And so it is." Amen. And so on June 12th, 2021, God called back into its own essence its beloved Carol, and she is set free to be all that God has created her to be. And I feel that such a life, such a masterpiece, deserves a standing ovation. So let us all stand and let us applaud her. Yay, Carol. Yay, Carol. All right. Thank you so much. And the family, Robin and Ian, and I'm sorry I forgot your Paul, want to invite you to further your memories in your conversation and enjoy the refreshments. And this particular Starbucks that was her stomping ground donated the coffee. Can you believe that? And family provided the pastries. So please continue to share and mingle, and thank you for coming. And thank you online for being with us today. God's love.